The Walt Disney Company got rid of Gina Carano because they disagreed with her political positions. Rachel Zegler made overtly political positions available on her social media page. She even expounded upon her overtly political positions on Instagram posts that were regarding the release of the film that Disney was doing. Go see Snow White. Oh, by the way, free Palestine. Gina Carano never did that. She never conflated the whole personal politics issue, if you want to call it that, with the promotion of a Disney product. Renegade Online. The difference between the treatment of Gina Carano versus Rachel Zegler. Gina Carano was let go from Disney for comments that she made that Disney effectively seemed to allege that were problematic, that caused them issues. They had to let her go because she was creating a serious issue for the Walt Disney Company with The Mandalorian, versus Rachel Zegler, which was given a social media manager to just silence the critics out there. What Rachel Zegler gets a pass, and Gina Carano gets the middle finger. What do you think, Ron?
I think a couple things. First of all, yeah, for sure. Rachel Zegler said things that the culture at Disney, and you've heard me talk about this many times, it is a bottom-up culture, in my opinion, at Disney, liked. She said the kind of things they like to hear. So there was no internal resistance to Rachel Zegler, to supporting her, and the opposite for Gina. But the problem is we're not comparing like to like. Rachel Zegler is the lead of a $400 million, and notwithstanding the sunk costs fallacy, at some point last year I said maybe they're just going to shelve the whole thing. It just seems to be getting worse and worse. And you more knowledgeable showbiz guys said they can't. They just can't. It's just too much. So Gina Carano, not as big of a, even though Rachel Zegler's career might be over now, but in terms of what they paid her and what they invested in the movie and everything that they had riding on her, several notches of a bigger thing than Gina Carano. So I don't think you can really, you can make the comparison, but I don't think it gets you very far. Tell me it like it is.
No, I agree with Ron completely. Yeah, we're trying to have a moral virtue argument about something that's inherently where the business component is so massively large,
right?
In comparison, that morality doesn't matter, and morality doesn't matter in general with this company.
You have a completely different contractual setup too. That's another thing we need to understand here.
Ron, thank you.
Bye,
my
Ron.
friend.
I got your door. Love you.
Make sure you check out Ron Coleman and the Coleman Nation podcast. And look, this is why I asked the question. I wasn't trying to get a favorable or unfavorable answer. I just wanted the Ron answer. And I think everybody gave the right answer.
I think it could help Gina in the long run, but I think it's also important to understand that, it's a completely different situation at the same time in a lot of ways.
It is a different situation, but I think boiling down the variances in the situation, again, it goes back to, and even Ron brought this up, I think, in his answer. There are issues in this that need to be considered. The Walt Disney Company got rid of Gina Carano because they disagreed with her political positions. Rachel Zegler made some... let me back that up. Rachel Zegler made overtly political positions available on her social media page. She even expounded upon her overtly political positions on tweets or Instagram posts that were regarding Snow White itself, the release of the film that Disney was doing, where go see Snow White. Oh, by the way, free Palestine. Gina Carano never did that. She never conflated the whole personal politics issue, if you want to call it that, with the promotion of a Disney product. And even though that, yes, these two things have a different scale in terms of their relevance financially to Disney. One, a Disney Plus show with Mandalorian, the other a $400 million production that was a theatrical release. But the point is that I think there is some degree of relevance here, and I think more than some. I think there's a very valid degree of relevance here in terms of how Disney treated these two women with these two situations. That Disney, according to their own response to Gina Carano, seems to consider the same thing. But in other words, Gina Carano got canned while Rachel Zegler got security details, a marketing media, intervention or whatnot. Gina wasn't afforded that luxury.
Well, here's one other thing to keep in mind. The show wasn't called the Gina Carano Show.
It
right?
was not.
And she wasn't playing Star Wars or The Mandalorian. She was not a main character. So that's a big difference. Like I said, the contractual thing is another thing. But let's put all that shit aside. Like, let's not even worry about that for a moment. Here's I think what the bigger thing is here. If Rachel, which there are rumors that she's thinking about turning around and suing Disney over this whole situation.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
that
there
if
are
that were to
rumors.
happen. Let me finish real quick.
go ahead.
Her situation will help Gina's case, but Gina's case would not help Rachel's case. See, because Rachel, it's not going to help her case because in the eyes of the court, they're going to say, well, they did afford you every luxury they could as far as holding your hand through this thing, and you still it up.
What would she sue for, Tom? What's the rumor?
She's going to want to sue, from what I've been hearing, is that she wants to sue for some sort of defamation and that this is basically going to destroy her career, which it is. Don't get me wrong. And Disney did just basically throw her under the bus. Because this is funny, because I'm sure you read the article from, what was it, Deadline, or was it Variety? I think it was Variety.
Deadline, they've all been.
Yeah, and nothing in that article surprised me because we had heard it. You guys have been reporting it for a while. Everybody's been talking about most of that shit for a while. The only thing that surprised me in that article that I was like, holy crap, I did not know that, was that Gal Gadot actually had to have security for her family.
That's it.
Paid for by Disney. That to me says like, wow, why didn't this get, they should have totally just been like, you know what? Give Jenna Ortega all the fucking money in the world to come in and reshoot this thing, or whoever, right? At this point, because this is a cluster and you have a major star here who has to get security for her family because this idiot, as the producer's son basically said in so many words on his post, to back all the shit up. So he was probably the source for the original story, or one close to the source for the original story, in a sense that that's clearly what happened. Is last year when she went and said this crap, and what we're talking about is when she promoted Snow White. I think it was when the first trailer dropped, wasn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong. And then underneath it, she put Free Palestine.
Yep.
And that moment, their whole team freaked out because she went and attached that to a movie and this is right after the wound from what had just happened, guys. The whole Reedy Creek deal.
Yeah.
And the don't say gay shit. And everything where Bob's like, we need to reel this in a little bit now and not be so politically active out in the public. Right? At least at that point, that was kind of his, status on this whole shit. And what does she do? She makes this whole thing political. You're already trying to put this fire out because of Peter Dinklage. And then you add this to the mix after she already said that. And this is the other thing, is they add in everything else in this, like the stuff she said at the red carpet and stuff like that after D23, when they leave out the fact that Gal Gadot said the same exact shit she did. So that's exactly what Disney was promoting to begin with. But here we are, a year and a half, 2 years after the fact. Now they've changed their ways over there at Disney. Things are changing, and that does not jive with what they're doing. So this is why it's kind of a different situation there now than when it was with Gina. And again, that's why I say this situation will help Gina's case, but it's not going to help Rachel's case in the end. Rachel herself, but at the end of the day, Disney is throwing her under the bus. They're completely throwing her under the bus with this article, making it all her fault, which a big part of the blame does belong on her shoulders, but the rest of the blame goes on Disney for doing this in the first place. Because they had always went after they were going after a specific Latina actress to play the role from the start. They knew what they were doing instead of leaving this like an open thing. And we casted the best person for the role, which is the kind of the argument they were trying to make with Halle Bailey when we all knew that was bullshit. But the best thing with that situation is you didn't have Halle Bailey going out there saying, F the Little Mermaid and F Trump. And if you like Trump, then F you, you know, because that's exactly what this was doing. She was going out there going, F Snow White and F you and F Trump and F everybody. And I'm not even being hyperbolic.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.